thank you for waiting, everyone. So what we're going to do is feel free to use the chat to say hello and give a shout out to what city you're in. My name is Baljeet Sandhu. It's wonderful to have you here, and welcome to the Q&A webinar for the free online leadership development program for leaders with lived experience of the criminal justice system. And by lived experience, we mean people with direct first-hand experience of criminal convictions, probation and community sentences. These are leaders, volunteers, change makers, artists, people in communities activating those experiences, often alongside their learned and practiced experience to improve the lives of their communities. My name is Baljeet, and I work at the Centre for Knowledge Equity, and I'm the co-founder of the Lived Experience Leaders movement. We have an hour and a half together, so we're just going to get stuck in because we know many of you are here to find out more about the programme. So I'm going to start by saying a little bit about who's behind the programme. I'm then going to be handing over into the incredible Paula Harriet from the Prison Reform Trust, who will share a little bit about why this programme and why now, and also to Peter Atherton to say a few words as well. We'll then hand over to Harrod and Mark from the Clore social team, who will share a little bit about the programme, its various elements, the timings, how to apply, and then some. And then most importantly, we're going to hand over to you all. Thank you so much for being here, and we're just going to try and keep as much space as we can for you to ask some questions and for those questions to be answered, because we want you to start applying. We've had about 50 applications already. We've got to get it up to the 100, so do apply. And so what we're going to also, when we answer your questions, don't worry about writing down the answers. We'll be sharing the questions and answers in a recording of this webinar after the session. And then what we've also done is created a lovely little informal space for you all to have a cuppa and chat, if you can stay for longer, to actually have a chat with the incredible design team of lived experience leaders who made this programme happen. So a little bit about me and the Centre for Knowledge Equity. So the Centre for Knowledge Equity was created after 3 years of work with incredible coalition of lived experience leaders who are working across the UK and across different parts of the social sector. The Lived Experience Leaders movement, I'm also a co-founder. We founded it with a whole group of leaders, and it's also known as the LEx movement. And basically, we're just an unconstituted group. It's not owned by anyone. So if you're a lived experience leader, please join the movement. And we're just a network, a collective impact network that basically come together to connect, support, and strengthen the capacity of lived experience leaders to create systemic change in society. We have about nearly over 880 members, lived experience-led organisations, networks, coalitions. It's an incredible, vibrant community, and it was following a call out from our LEx leaders from the criminal justice system that we actually decided to down our tools and actually establish this programme. This programme would not be possible with this incredible, inspiring group of leaders who I have to give a shout out to. And it's leaders with lived experience who are working across the entire sector to really disrupt and create justice in the criminal injustice system. And that's leaders working across prison reform, youth justice, community development, from multiple disadvantaged, complex needs, recovery services, housing, homelessness, the intersect of health and justice, and then some. So first of all, a huge shout out to Paula Harriet, that many of you know, who's the head of engagement at Prison Reform Trust, who's based in the Midlands.
Yeah.
Pete Atherton, co-founder and managing director of community-led initiatives based in Greater Manchester. Peter Yarwood and Emma Daggers from Red Rose Recovery based in Lancashire. Darren Davey, managing director of Second City Housing and also Inner City Life based in the Midlands. Darren Marinius, the CEO of Expert Citizens based in Stoke. Michaela Booth, who's the National Patient Engagement Lead at the Practice Plus Group. Dr. Craig Fletcher, who's based in Liverpool, and Farran Brewing for the who also works at the Centre for Knowledge Equity. So all of them are going to be here for a catch up and a cuppa afterwards. So please do stay and have a chat, an informal chat, and find out a little bit more about the programme. But we basically, if it wasn't for all these leaders who just said, we need this and we need this now. So as a centre, we decided to commission and support this programme with some of the funding we've received from Langley Chase Foundation. They wanted us to use it to make our aspirations a reality. And we were just like, well, we're going to fund this programme. And so we decided to partner with our trusted partners, Clore social team. We ran a similar program for LEx Leaders in the migrant and refugee sector, and they're just an incredible team. We're co-designing it with them. We're also going to be co-delivering the program. Our LEx CGS design team are also going to be involved all the way through. They're also going to be helping with people who want to apply, also with the moderation process as well. They're an incredible team with over a decade years of expertise in supporting leadership development across the social sector. And so with that, I'm going to hand over to the infamous, incredible, inspiring Lex Elder, Paula Harriet.
Hello, everybody. Wow, I've got to live up to that then, haven't I? That's quite an intro. But yeah, listen, this is really exciting. I keep seeing names going on the chat and they're people that I know. And I think, yes, like we've actually got us all together in one space already. And like part of my work, as many people know, I'm a former prisoner that's been working in this space for a long time now, about 12 years now, since my release from prison, when I realised that the lived experience insight of a prison sentence was not heard, was not visible in all of the public debate about imprisonment. And we're expected to only turn up, we were at that time only expected to turn up with our misery memoirs, for everybody to clap us for our enormous success in turning our lives around. And that was the only contribution that we were permitted to make to the debate. But what I've come to realise through the struggle, for my own personal struggle of making it through the ranks to the trust, but also the amazing leadership that I've seen across the sector, not, you know, across the whole of the social justice sector. People who've been to prison know each other. We know each other straight away. We bear the scars. We feel it in our souls when we meet each other. We know that we see clearly the injustice, that we've witnessed it at first hand, how power and privilege scars us and impacts on us. We know about social, economic, political inequalities because they're not theoretical concepts to us. We actually live them. They're our norm. So we have a completely different lens through which we view this work. And my mission has been to connect people in this space, to elevate people in this space, to support people in this space, to understand how they can best activate what they've experienced for social purpose, how they can best activate that, communicate it in a way that influences change. And that isn't just about propping up a system, that's about changing that system. It's about bringing to people's knowledge and awareness and consciousness the depth of inequality that there is in this country. Because those of us who've been on the flip side of the wall, who have been given numbers, who've been asked to take our clothes off and be strip searched as we go into the prison, we know definitely when somebody clips those handcuffs on you, you know about power. This is the hidden discussion about power in this country that only the people who have experienced it can lead. And we're the only people that can rebalance the scales. So leadership in this space is so important, having the confidence to speak out. And we don't all have to be, you know, prime ministers, MPs, strategic leaders. That's not what I mean about leadership either. What we mean about leaders is having the confidence to know that what happens to you is a wisdom, what happens to you is a strength, what happens to you can empower you, and you can lead yourself, you can lead your kids, you can lead your partner, you can lead your neighbor, you can lead your community, you can lead locally, nationally, internationally, and globally. It all depends like what you want, how you want to do that, where you best fit in, because everybody is unique. So leadership is unique to that individual. But what we all definitely need to do is be leaders. We need to lead our own lives, not be led by systems. We need to lead those systems, those interpersonal systems, those interconnected systems, those strategic systems, those economic systems, political systems, social systems. We need to be leaders in those systems. And to be able to have impact, you need to know yourself. You can't lead if you're not leading yourself. You can't lead if you can't understand yourself clearly. So where have we ever had a leadership space for ourselves? I mean, it sounded sometimes, you know, when people said, oh, should we do one just for LEx Leaders? People go, oh, you know, even some of our LEx Leaders so generously, like Darren Marinas, he said so generously, oh no, well, we don't want to be like the system and exclude us. Exclude people who haven't got lived experience. That's how kind he is, yeah? But right now, we all debated it and we said, no, do you know what it is? When we talk about equality, it doesn't mean treat everybody the same. It means recognizing where there's a difference. We're talking about equity. The Centre for Knowledge Equity is talking about equity, and that's a deeper principle than just equality. That's recognizing where there's been a difference and what we need to do to make up that difference. Well, how do we need to rebalance the scales? Well, how do LEx Leaders need to get beyond being the volunteer mentors to being, you know, recognized for the value that they bring to the whole of the system? Well, we need equity. We need equity of understanding that lived experience is a knowledge set in and of itself. And when that's combined with learned and practiced experience, it's a phenomenal force for change. It's a phenomenal force for change for an individual, for their families, for their communities, for their localities, for their regions, and for their nation. So I think we should think big about who we are. We should step out of feeling like we're in the shadows. We should step beyond the stigma, embrace our experiences as part of the wisdom that makes us stronger, better, faster, and change the world. So that's why we needed, well, that was sort of the thinking behind a leadership program. And I really hope that you will apply, because I know in all of my work up and down the country, trust me, I see immense people. You know, I see immense people who are volunteers. You know, I see immense people in the fellowship. I see immense people in different services. I see some of them just leading change, but they're not recognized and they're not joining up together in force. So this session is this program with its action learning sets and it's sort of like discover program and it's coaching for the senior leaders. I think it's going to do the job. I think it's going to demonstrate that we're here, that we always were here. We should honor the people who came before us, who dug the foundations deep for us to stand proud here today. And I think we should also recognize that we're going to be here in the future, but we're going to be here in the future en masse, more confident, with collective strength, with a power of not just voice, but a power of influence that's going to leave a legacy for our kids, that they're not going to endure some of the inequalities that we've endured. They're not going to endure the pain of imprisonment in the way that we have. So, Pete, over to you.
What Paul has not seen, everyone, is I've just typed into the panelist messages there, is lead straight into the Clore bit, Paul, and I can't follow you on that. It's like, where do I go with it? All I can say is that, like, you know, I never intended to kind of be a leader working within criminal justice and working within the sector, you know, and most of my journey in setting up my organisation has been a lonely and a hard one, and feeling connected into a broader group of people that I can be inspired by and learn from and help to understand myself within all of that, and kind of what I'm going through has just been such a growth experience for me, more so than any other kind of learning that I've done in kind of academic establishments or even experiential learning. So I just feel so privileged to be a part of this group, to be a part of the LEx movement and be connected into something that I feel I really wish there had been something like this 7 years ago to prepare me for what was to come. But you know what? It's just such an honour now to be able to kind of play a small role in putting this in place for those of us that are out there and also looking for that opportunity. So I'm not going to prattle on. What I'm going to say is that there's a coffee and a catch-up session. Once we've done all the Q&A and given you all the information that you've come here for, you've not come here to listen to us, then stick around if you want to. Let's talk, let's connect, let's have a coffee. I'll put my indoor clothes back on and we can just get real about it all. But we need you, and we need your strength, and we need the collectivity of us all to fix this broken system. And to do that, we also need to be learn and open and be open-minded and kind of and be with each other. So please, let's turn your attendance into applications, ask questions, get them into chat, and stick around, and we'll have a good natter afterwards anyway. So I would also like to thank the Clore social team for their support in putting this program together at such a pace as well, but also a huge thanks to the Centre for Knowledge Equity for being the catalyst and providing the funding and resource and the connection to make this happen. It is such an honour, and I just feel so grateful that this is for us. And what the Clore social team are bringing as far as their expertise around leadership and facilitating this kind of learning environment in pretty tricky conditions that we're all living through right now. It's just fantastic to kind of see how they're operating. So huge gratitude to the Clore social team as well. And I'm going to pass over to them now.
Great, thank you, Pete. Okay, I'm just going to share my screen quickly. Hopefully everyone can see that all right again. Great, so I'll start by just clarifying the application criteria for this. As Baljit said at the beginning of the webinar, applications are open to lived experience leaders of the criminal justice system working across the wider social system at various levels. So with equity being at the heart of this programme, where possible, priority will be given to people of colour, women and those working outside of London. But ultimately, there's something here for all levels. So regardless of where you sit on this, we have designed this to apply to all of you. And the way that we've broken this down is we've got these 3 programme elements. So these are separate learning streams. I think that's the most important thing to remember. And participants will be allocated to one of these streams, and this will be determined by your experience level. So our moderators will allocate you to a stream based on your application responses and what is deemed to be the most beneficial fit for you. Here at Clore Social, we believe that we can all be leaders, and being a leader constitutes a variety of different things. So just by applying and being on one of your programs, you are demonstrating good leadership. We leave titles at the door, and you don't have to be a CEO. We recognise leadership in all of its forms. So here you can see our Clore Social Leadership Development Model and our Social Capabilities Framework. And these form the basis of our approach to leadership development. So on the left, you have our development model, and at the heart of that is the idea of know yourself, be yourself, look after yourself, and our belief that leadership development starts with you. And the framework on the left also shows, on the right, sorry, I think, depending on how you're looking at it, shows the key capabilities that we believe leaders should demonstrate. So that includes the idea of being collaborative, empowering, inspiring others, and being a courageous change maker. So this is what we design all of our programs around, including Discover. And Discover is that first stream that you saw at the top there. So it's an online learning program. It's designed to be completed around your other commitments. And in total, it involves a time commitment of around 4 to 5 hours a week, 16 to 20 hours in total. So with this, there are 2 live classroom elements. Those are conducted via Zoom, and they're 1 hour in duration, and they are hosted on set dates. So whereas a lot of the online stuff you can access in your own time, you'll be given the dates for 2 live classrooms, which is normally, we try and host those over lunchtime. The exact dates for those and times will be confirmed in due course when you're accepted onto the programme, but the course will be starting in late February for those just in the Discover only learning stream. In terms of what to expect from Discover, it's a 4-week online introduction to leadership, and it will help you identify your leadership strengths and areas of improvement. It'll also encourage you to network with your peers and learn from and engage with a wider cohort of social leaders and change makers. Upon completion, you receive a Clore social certificate of completion. And throughout Discover, what we're essentially doing is challenging yourself to ask questions such as, what does it mean to be a social leader? Who am I as a leader? How can I further develop, and what motivates me? So self-reflection is key and central to Discover, and will nudge you to think about your own leadership and your own aspirations. Okay, so how you'll learn on Discover. As I mentioned, it's a 4-week programme, and each week revolves around a different theme, and these build on one another, but the structure is the same week by week. So on a Monday, the content's released, then you have until Thursday to complete the practical task. These practical tasks will include creating visuals and diagrams to help you visualise your leadership, as well as some writing tasks. We welcome you to share your practical tasks with your cohort in your closed online forum, but this is optional, and the primary audience for these is you. So with that in mind, we're flexible on how you approach this. In the past, we've had people record a video or a voice note as opposed to writing it down. So the main thing is about setting time to sit down, reflect, and work through the question, and it won't be graded or moderated. Like I said, it's just for you, really. And then the live classroom element is an opportunity to meet with your cohort and talk about your leadership challenges. These will be run by a lived experience facilitator, and it will allow you to engage with your cohort and network with one another. And we'll also encourage you to continue on any conversations and continue that engagement with one another in your online forum. So I'm just going to move now on to action learning. So in terms of action learning, the time commitment for this one is going to be a total of 28 to 32 hours over a 6-month period. So you'll finish Discover, then you'll move on to action learning, and your groups will be allocated in the application moderation process according to your level of leadership experience. It consists of 4 3-hour action learning sets, and those are spread out over the course of 4 to 5 months. And again, they'll be held during working hours. So the first of these will commence around the end of February, with exact dates to be confirmed in due course. And then the times and dates of your subsequent 3 sets will be agreed between you and the facilitator, so to fit around your schedule. Discover for this group would start in mid-January, and again, we would hold the live classrooms for that over lunchtime. And then in terms of what action learning is, action learning is conducted in a group of peers, and it's facilitated by an action learning specialist who helps you address complex issues while working collaboratively with others in a trusting and supporting environment. So the group element of this learning activity is really key, and it's about, as I say, working collaboratively with others, and that's why it's really important that you commit to your set and to attending all 4 of the sessions, so you can really kind of work through that process together. But yeah, it's a way of working with others. So you'd meet as a group, you would talk through, be asked what sort of challenges that you're currently experiencing, and talk through those with your group. And I think the really important thing to remember with action learning is it is a really trusted and safe environment, and that is very much facilitated for you by people like Ruth, who would run those sessions. Then in terms of coaching, the time commitment for this will be, you would finish Discover, and then you would have 4 1-hour sessions. Those will be spread over the course of 4 to 5 months, and the dates and times of these would be agreed between your coach and yourself. So again, to work around your schedule on that. The Discover element for this learning stream would start in mid-January with the live classrooms around lunchtimes, and there would be a combined time commitment of between 20 and 24 hours over a 6-month period. And that is explained, all broken down for you online on our website if you want to see that in a bit more detail. In terms of what to expect from coaching, coaching effectively guides leaders towards achieving personal and professional goals through one-to-one individual support. So it helps people achieve their professional or personal goals. One thing to bear in mind is it's not a form of counselling or other kind of treatment, but instead what a coach does is harness an individual's energy and maybe their need for change by exploring some alternatives for them, acting as a sounding board, helping them to build their confidence, and really just taking each coachee on a case-by-case basis. Again, you steer what you want to get out of this process. Your coach will provide you with the tools, support, and structure to achieve what might have been challenging to do just on your own. So, in terms of how to apply and the key dates to be aware of, main thing is don't delay with your registration. You can see here that we're running applications through till the 9th of November. And you'll be notified of a decision by the 15th of December. At that point, we would let you know about all the dates and times that you need to be putting on your calendar, but we'll give you as much notice as possible with that. Feel free to share about this program with people in your network. Mark's going to be sharing a promotional pack in the chat, so that you can easily share that across with your network. And we're now going to move to the Q&A, where obviously we'll take any questions from you. Mark, have any been coming in on the chat?
So Baljeet's been fielding them as they come in. The one that's open at the moment is from East Team, asking how many are going to be in each class. And that's going to vary in between which stream that you get. So if you are chosen for the coaching stream, your Discover Live Classroom will consist of 20 people. Then you'll go on and take part in your coaching individually. If you get chosen for the action and learning sets, you'll be in a Discover Classroom of 30. And then your sets, when you go off after Discover, will be sets of 6. And then if it's just Discover, I think I'm right in saying that it's going to be 25 in each set. There'll be two sets of 25.
Another questions come up. How long do you think the application will take to complete?
That is a great question. And Nadia, I know we have a rough estimate of how long these normally take. I think it's around sort of 40 minutes or so. And obviously it's different for each person. But we do encourage you to, put as much information down there as possible that will help us, particularly through the moderation process and understanding what level you're at, because as I explained, that will determine which learning stream you get. But about 40 minutes, and we also recommend that you fill out the answers to your questions separately. So, and then you can just copy and paste them in, because once you start doing it, you can't, if you're like, I don't know, your computer went funny or something, you might lose it, which would be really annoying. So yeah, maybe write them out beforehand, and then it's just a quick copy and paste job.
So a question from Mel is, can someone...
Sorry, Mark, can we just add as well, we're really, really aware that people might have disabilities or learning disabilities, but most of all, some people may not have, access to the education systems that everyone else has had. So we've created a process by which you can also contact Mark for reasonable adjustments if you need to submit your application a different way. But also, I know there's a whole group of the LEx design team at the end who also want to support folk with applying as well. So we just wanted to add that. So on the website there will be a way to contact Clore social team if you can't fill it out in online as well.
Can I just jump in there as well, Belle? Is that I don't want anybody to be put off by the long form, right? So for me, if long forms daunt you, because I'm one of those people who hides the council tax and the tax bill and deals with it later, yeah? I'm one of those people, right, who puts things to the back of the list, right? Please don't delay. If you really feel like you want to do it, then just, call somebody to help you with it, or, just get it in. Because like if we've got questions when it comes to the moderation, we'll ring you and talk you through some of the stuff. So like, don't be daunted. Like that's how we sabotage ourselves as well. If you're talking from a recovery perspective, those people who are in recovery will know what I mean. Like, let's not sabotage ourselves. Let's just go, you know what, we can do this. It feels like a bit difficult, but I'm going to do it. And reach out for help. Like anybody who knows me knows my number. You can call me to get help. And all of these people on the panel, they'll definitely help you. So
yeah, Emma's doing a shout out already for anyone in Lancashire. So Emma Daggers, thank you so much. Also just wanted to add, there'll be questions like how much is the turnover of your organisation? That will not reflect on your application. That's really for us to understand the size of your organisation, because leadership development's about you, but the size of your organisation helps us understand how you're having to work with teams. Is it a small team? Is it a huge team, right? So that's also helped us understand the level of kind of your work in the organization in terms of your years of experience. That's why we've put it in different levels as well, because some people are just like starting to get into the sector and at entry level, well, you need support as well, and we constantly say in the LEx Leaders movement is we've had to climb step by step, floor by floor. Why are we going to let you do the same when we can just take you to the lift and press 5? So that's how we see it. So please apply. Someone just asked a question, is someone in the youth justice system apply? Absolutely. Absolutely. And please, we really want, if you can spread the word. I think we haven't really been able to be getting lots of applications for those working in the youth justice from the youth justice system. So yes, please spread the word. Mark, I know you were fielding some more questions.
Oh, can I also just, but really quickly on that last point you were making, Baljeet, about organisational size, just also to reiterate that if you're not part of an organisation, that's fine too. So again, if you're, just applying as an individual, then obviously just leave that blank, as Baljeet mentioned. It's not, a key criteria in any way. So feel free to apply regardless of whether you're associated with an organisation or not.
Absolutely.
It also might be difficult for some people to get that information about the organisation that they're in. So if that isn't something that or can find, then just click none, or give an option where you can just kind of move through it. That'll be okay. Yeah.
And I was going to say as well, you could be an artist, you could be a musician who does stuff in jails. You're a leader. Do you know what I mean? So you don't need to be leading a team. You could just be leading yourself. And I think it's about this understanding of viewing people as leaders in and of themselves. This is for you too. Do you know what I mean? This is a way we can connect together through these action learning sets, through the Discover program. Also, like, just find other people, like-minded people in their space.
I think we had a question on what are the next steps after the program is completed, please? What are the likely opportunities? There'll be loads. There'll be loads. This is an opportunity to bring everyone together, and it was designed by us with the Clore social team, especially during these difficult times where we're in an online world right now. That doesn't mean leadership development stops, and so that's why we've done it like this. We run a similar program for migrant and refugee lived experience leaders. That program is going to go on into a longer program, but we've already started doing network development events, other additional events. Once the lived experience leaders were coming together, there's loads of other opportunities to build support leadership development, capacity building. We've got lived experience leaders who are supporting with digital capacity design, campaigning, community organising, so the opportunities. And then Clore Social also have a chapter, an incredible way of connecting with other Clore Social fellows, but also for those who have completed programs, and they're about to design and launch a brand new program, kind of online platform in the new year. Plug their Clore Social. I hope I get some brand points. And so we'll have loads and loads of opportunities after that. I know someone is asking a question around lived experience. How much will people expect to disclose in terms of the details of their lived experience? I'm wary that some people do not want to go into detail or have to prove their lived experience, myself included. Similarly, I've had a colleague that's been asked to confirm some sort former or current probation officers. So just know this: if you haven't got lived experience in the criminal justice system and you don't have a criminal conviction, community sentence, or been through probation, you're not coming in. This really is a program only for that. It is just one tick box exercise. You don't have to prove anything. You do not have to prove anything. What we do is we embrace and we hope that it's your honesty, you know, and just know that this will not be disclosed to anyone. You will just be moving into this leadership program with your allies, with your colleagues, but everyone will have been, every single person on this program will have had lived experience. And that's what this program's for. Yeah. So go on, Paula.
Sorry, I was just going to say, I was just going to remind people what I said in the beginning. I hope I said it anyway. Death to the misery memoir. I hope I said that, which is like, we're not expecting, Lex leaders don't need to be out here performing about their stories. You know, this is about leadership. It's about, you can individually reflect on what you've learned, and that you bring that forward with your learned and practice experience to generate leadership. But we're not expecting anybody. I don't want to go into any detail about, I'm fed up with going into detail about my conviction. We want to talk about what we've learned and how we're going to move forward together. So I don't think you're going to, whoever asked that question, please don't feel that anybody's going to put you under any pressure to be discussing anything about your past experience, unless it's of benefit to the discussion and unless you feel like you want to contribute that to the discussion.
Mark, did you field, are there any other questions you've been fielding?
Yeah, so one from Michael asking about whether the programme reaches into Northern Ireland, and if so, do any of the Lex leaders have experience with the CGS in Northern Ireland?
I have. It does go to Northern Ireland, so if you're from Northern Ireland, please do apply. I know a couple of people. Is that Michael Owen? Is that Michael? I know a couple of people who are over in Northern Ireland. I've done some work in Northern Ireland in my role, so you're welcome. We're delighted to have people from Northern Ireland, so please get the NIACRO people to put the words out and come forward.
And I also want to give a shout out to Pete from Scotland as well, who's also part of the Lex Elders and Lex movement.
Yeah.
So wicked to see you here, Pete. Just pure joy, and so great to know that you're also well. So we want to say that actually with other programs, it is important that we actually share from each of our 4 territories of the UK of what is going on. If we want to create systems change and disrupt, often we can do that through learning and understanding how other systems are working as well. So actually, we've been really worried that it's not getting out to Wales and Northern Ireland. So please spread the word, get it out to communities, get it out to colleagues, because this is a UK-wide programme.
Absolutely.
Mark, any more?
Yep. Who determines what level you go in at? So in terms of the levels, it will be based on experience. We'll have guidance from lived experience leaders who are going to know people's level of experience in reality, not necessarily what it is on paper, but what it is in reality. So there'll be a lot of input from Lex, and Clore Social will make the decision in terms of what we think, based on your application, is going to be a nice beneficial stream. It will be a collaborative decision.
And also to add that with Clore Social team, they've been doing this for so long that sometimes, you know, they will also be able to understand how to match you with the teams. Because what we want to do is, because there will be classes with groups of up to 20, for example, with online Discover program, is to ensure that you're all getting a fair, equitable learning experience with colleagues and peers. Because what we don't also want to do is create this othering that you're lived experience leaders and therefore you're a homogenous group and everyone's the same. We're like other leaders. There are leaders who are senior leaders who've been in the sector for 20 years, you know. It's also valuing and respecting that, and that's why we've created these levels of opportunities as well for senior leaders to get access to coaching and then action learning sets as well. So with that experience, Clore Social team have been doing this for so long, they can really get a feel and an understanding of what groups appear and match together. So you're going through a learning experience together as well. Mark, any other questions?
I think we've answered the one about next steps after the programme. We covered that earlier, didn't we?
Yeah. I think there's a question around, is it lived experience of the prison system only, or can people with lived experience with drug, alcohol apply without having had prison system experience? I will open this up to the LEx design team. But from what I understand is this really was a recognition of those who actually have first-hand experience of the system. So community sentences, probation, and also convictions, but also imprisonment. So we know there are lived experience leaders who may have been arrested and may have not got convicted, who may not have gone into the prison system. That does not mean that we don't value you. Please join the lived experience leaders movement, because we have loads of other opportunities to connect, and you never know, we might also do a program if there's a desire for us to also support those in the recovery movement. There are incredible lived experience leaders across the UK who are already doing leadership development programs, and we can connect you up with our members as well. But yeah, but anyone else from the LEx design team?
Just to say that, like, a really kind of simple way of looking at it is, if you've been in court and been convicted of something, it doesn't necessarily matter what punishment you receive for that conviction. If you've been convicted, that's the criteria met.
Yeah. Final question is on why are people of colour getting a priority on the programme?
Yeah, so all I can say to you is we all know that there is racism and there's structural racism. I think we don't need to go into that, but what we've realised is we've got young Black, white, Asian youth out there talking about the unfair nature of the prison system. They are looking at America, right? They're trying to figure out what's happening unfairly and what is unjust in America. We need them to focus on what's happening in our islands in the UK. Right, and that's why what we've realized is there is structural racism across all of our society and our sector, as well as the social sector. 99.9% of people working in the charity sector are also white, and yet the population of people of color is much higher. So this isn't just about the criminal justice system, it's about the whole of the social sector in different communities. So there's a lot of work happening with funders and with big charities who are realizing they need to change their leadership. And also, this isn't about putting one group above another. This is about equity. The same goes for women. We need leaders, we need female leaders to also be supported. The criminal justice system can often be male heavy as well. And there's incredible sisters out there doing incredible work on the intersect of gender justice, criminal justice, about families, you know, women and their families and how they're experiencing the inequalities of the criminal justice system. And also, it's not just about people of colour. We are also being unashamedly about outside of London. Right, so this isn't just people of colour, women. This is also for leaders outside of London, because there are incredible leaders here, and there's incredible folk here, but often there's a lot of opportunity in London as well. Right, we need to ensure that leadership development is also available for our communities outside of London. So it's not just about people of colour.
Absolutely, and we were really clear about that in the design group. If we're talking about equity, we start where the imbalances are. The type of leaders we want to be, it's about building a different type of community, a more inclusive type of community. So equity and understanding what we need to do to create that equality is really important here. Everything that Baljit's just said about prioritising women, prioritising people of colour, prioritising people who are coming from outside London. So big up for the Midlands. Big up for the Midlands.
Northwest.
Make sure we get all the Brummies in, yeah? So all your Brummies watching, make sure you get your application in. Jay Arnold, I've got you, yeah? Just please, this is about, let's start as we mean to go on. You can't create a different type of society as a Lex leader if you don't master that within yourself, master the notions of equity and equality and consideration, sensitivity and emotional intelligence. These are the qualities of the type of community we want to live in. So this is why we set out with a program that explicitly does that. So this is about honouring those within even our own group who don't get the recognition and the visibility that they need, because it's only when we're all together on an equal platform that we're going to be a force for change. So this is the prep for that.
Final question from Dean Raymond until we get onto a little bit of a coffee. If you enter the entry-level stream, do you go on to the next streams or do you just do the discovery one? For now, it will just be the discovery if you want entry level, unless the Lex Leaders team indicate that they really want you to do, you know, an action learning set or a coaching set.
And it's also saying, why are you excluding those who have experience of prison but no conviction?
Can I answer that? I think that people who have been to prison, I don't think we would necessarily exclude them because they don't have a conviction necessarily. So I think that would be on a case-by-case basis. So I'd still, whoever asked that question, I still encourage them to apply and set out, you know, just set out a bit of a rationale of why they think they're suitable for this program as a lived experience leader. I have an idea who said that, and I think I would encourage them to apply.
And is that it, Mark, for questions? I know some people may not be comfortable with the chat and putting questions down in the chat. Is there ability for someone to put their hand up or maybe ask the question rather than type it?
Not in a webinar function, unfortunately. We can only see the lovely panelists.
Okay. Are there any more questions?
That's all I can see at the moment. I think we've...
Have we been through all the questions?
Yep, if you haven't had your question answered, feel free to just pop it back in the chat. There's loads of stuff. I might have missed it.
Cool. So I can't see any other questions. Paula, I think it's really important, this notion of why people of colour as a priority. And I know the Prison Reform Trust has been doing some work in the David Lammy review. But I think we need to actually also, you know, it would be helpful from the Lex Leaders from the criminal justice system to also share a little bit about that.
Just about why we're prioritising people of colour. Because of them, I mean, I wonder why it needs explaining. That's first and foremost, because anybody who's been in the criminal justice system witnesses firsthand the overrepresentation of people of colour in the system. So how can we say that we're representing when amongst our number we don't see leaders from those communities representing? That's part of why we feel so disconnected from the debate, isn't it? So just understanding that overrepresentation, understanding the structural nature of that overrepresentation is a critical function of lived experience, you know, and we can't mimic the exclusion as Lex Leaders. We cannot mimic the exclusion of certain voices because it's uncomfortable for us to hear them. One of the Lex Leaders, Michaela Booth, who's on the call, I know, sent me an article to read about blindfolds and how blindfolds are really comfortable to wear because it means we don't have to see the wickedness that's about us. I think as Lex Leaders, we're all brave, we're all courageous. We take off those blindfolds, we're prepared to see it firsthand and witness it. I've had moments when I was in prison where I witnessed the disaster of my life, where you've taken off the blindfold by which you're deluding yourself anyway. and you see the disaster of your life, and you look around and you think, what am I going to do? Am I going to be overwhelmed by this mess, or am I going to set about fixing it brick by brick, piece by piece, rebuilding, bringing ourselves back to harmony? And I think that this issue around the overrepresentation of people in colour is something that LEx Leaders and white allies in this space need to take up. We take it up not because it's the political theme of the moment, because it's a reality. It's a reality when you go to jail, that you see the overrepresentation. That can't be right, can't be fair. It isn't right and it isn't fair. And actually the redress to that is always about representation of the voice in the debate. And so we can't speak for that experience. People who live that experience have to speak and lead that debate. Just as I can't be represented as a person who's a woman who's been to prison by people who haven't been to prison. They can advocate potentially on my behalf, but they can't speak for me because they haven't lived that experience. And we as people who've been to prison know that. How irritated do you get when you're watching the telly and somebody's talking about experiences of prison and they've never set a foot inside a jail in their life? We can't talk for the experience of people of colour. We need to create space in our movement for people of colour to speak for themselves, for us to be educated about that experience, educated deeply, emotionally, from heart space, from soul space. We need to be educated. And in that sense of inclusive community and deep listening and solidarity with each other around the intersectional causes of this, the economic, social, political exclusion that sits at the heart of voicelessness, that's when we get to that understanding, that's when we're going to see some real change. That's how we're going to create a better future, because we'll have mastered it ourselves already, and that's what we'll give away to others.
Thanks.
So we need to practice what we're going to preach.
Thank you so much, Paula. I think there's a question for the Clore social team that can also be helped. So from Birmingham, so big up to Birmingham.
Go on, I promise. That's a good question. Don't disgrace me now, you know.
How are you going to determine who suits which programme? Development, for example.
I'm going to put Brummies in the senior leaders. That's what I'm going to do. Yeah, all the Brummies are going in the top one.
The biases. Development, for example, is this down to the amount of lived experience? No. So in terms of matching you in groups, it will be down to your leadership experience. So how long have you been working on as a change maker, as a project lead, as a manager, leading work, as an artist in a space for 20 years? This is about your experience within the in social purpose work. So it's really about that is your experience and being matched up. So it's not about your lived experience or when it was or anything like that. Your matching will be about the number of years. That's why we usually go by number of years of how much experience you've had in your social change, social purpose career. So please know that we will be sending question and answers afterwards. We know that some people may not have been able to with the speed of stuff and the presentations as well, but we will be sending stuff afterwards. If you've got any questions, you can email us. But if you join us for a cuppa, there's going to be loads of opportunities where I know a lot of our LEx CGS design team really want to be there beyond just this webinar to support you if you wanted to have a chat.